හෙළදරු කැලවිසු පුරාතනේ යලිපදීමේ බිමේ අරහත් දජ ධර්මිනේ නැවතත් සති පෙරමුණේ කොහෙගියේද දරුවනි නුඹ මෙතුවක් අපි වැළපුනේ පරසිරිතට නොනැමුණු හෙළදරු කැලගෙල සිඳලුනේ ගැලුලේ විල මත දියවි සතිමාවත වැළහුනේ පරසිරිතට නොනැමුණු හෙළදරු කැලගෙල සිඳලුනේ ගැලුලේ විල මත දියවි සතිමාවත වැළහුනේ කොහෙගියේද දරුවනි නුඹ මෙතුවක් අපි වැළපුනේ හෙළදරු කැලවිසු පුරාතනේ යලිපදීමේ බිමේ අරහත් දජ ධර්මිනේ නැවතත් සති පෙරමුණේ කොහෙගියේද දරුවනි නුඹ මෙතුවක් අපි වැළපුනේ දහම් බෙරය හැඬවෙන විට යලි පිබිදී පින්බිමේ අපට වඩා දුර යන වග සැක නෑ බැලුවම පෙනේ දහම් බෙරය හැඬවෙන විට යලි පිබිදී පින්බිමේ අපට වඩා දුර යන වග සැක නෑ බැලුවම පෙනේ සතියෙන් මුළු ලොව දිනුමට නුඹට හැකිය හෙට දිනේ හෙළදරු කැලවිසු පුරාතනේ යලිපදීමේ බිමේ අරහත් දජ ධර්මිනේ නැවතත් සති පෙරමුණේ කොහෙගියේද දරුවනි නුඹ මෙතුවක් අපි වැළපුනේ
Good evening, and I have been told that you can hear me. So we have Sati here. Sati, if you can hear me, just raise your hand, please. Perfect, thanks. So it is time for us to start our second session of our second module, and it's titled Feelings and Emotions. So we will focus on being mindful about our feelings and emotions. And we do have Samantha here as well. Sati, is there something that you would like to say at this moment?
Sorry to disturb you and budge in between. Actually, I did not receive any email on Friday. I was waiting for the same. And there's the chapter 6, I believe, was supposed to be given. So that I haven't received yet.
All right. Thank you for letting us know. Last week had been a really packed, and I've not been able to really send out any emails. But the reading material today, we will make sure you receive it at the time that we are going to look at the material. So no worries on that. And any other material, including the videos, we will send them. Probably not tomorrow, because again, I'm away, but we will be sending those emails as well. So sorry if you have been waiting. I'm so sorry about that. But we will.
Thank you.
Yeah, the reading material, we will give them out in the chat. So no worries.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. So so we've completed our first module. So thank you so much for going through the learning outcomes tracking document. And if you do have any issues, especially on the sections that you said that you might want to review them, you will find that as we continue with our sessions, you might find answers as well. So today's aim is, like I said earlier, we are going to look at or observe our feelings and emotions, especially when we try to become mindful about our feelings and emotions. We will start looking into see how they arise in the first place, and we will see lots of changes that happen along with those feelings and emotions that we can observe, and that will give us details and how to maybe manage our feelings and emotions. And then there is a whole a big theme on this where we speak about emotional literacy or social emotional learning. So in order to become aware of our feelings and emotions, the first thing is to become aware by observation. So the sessions are very similar to how we have been doing them. This is just some notices there, and I'll just move on. So today we just have only 2 learning videos, and then we do have the chapter 7 on resilience from the Sati Teacher's Instruction Manual, which I will share at the time we will be reading on that. So we will move along. So I invite all of you to practice a mindful sitting session now. So we will sit comfortably. We will practice along with me, and we have Samanthi as well. So it's just a 20-minute guided session by Venerable Panadure Chandaratana Thero. So sit comfortably, make sure your body is balanced and you are not tensed. In your mind's eye, you can check the back of your neck, your shoulders, your spine, right? If you're holding them too tightly, just relax them. And your head is well balanced on your neck. And you can gently close your eyes and be aware of the present moment by keeping your mind within your body. And just be for a moment. Just enjoy the moment in time.
So I welcome all of you for Mindfulness for Young Adults session. Now we are going for a guided sitting session. May you sit in a comfortable position and adjust yourself. Basically, you need to have a fairly symmetrical posture. Adjust to yourself. If there is any place that you feel giving some kind of an ache, drawing your attention, then probably you can adjust that place. Maybe your clothing, maybe a kind of a tightness, So those areas, those clothing, you probably have to relax, adjust, so that you feel at ease, feeling comfortable. Suppose you are from a very tiresome walk, and once you sit, once you come back and sit, you feel quite at ease. You feel quite comfortable. You feel some happiness, some relaxing. So this we need to recognize. This we need to feel. And once we recognize it, once we feel it, then actually we can appreciate it. And as a result, we can bring our attention readily to the body. So now we are trying to be friendly with our body. Actually, we are discussing Kayagata Sati Sutta. That's also encouraging being with the body. And we are also now trying to practically be with our body. So our eyes are gently closed. We can feel our lips are gently touching. And our jaws are not tightly coupled. And we are not making any effort using our tongue. It is in a very restful position. And the whole face, the whole head, feeling very relaxed. We are not thinking about any matter. We are not thinking about any problem. Basically, we are allowing things to happen. We acknowledge everything. Let everything be. Let it be. We are not lingering about the past, regretting about the past, or we are not daydreaming, we are not fantasizing, we are not imagining, we are not planning. Rather, at this very moment, we are living. This is a very direct experience. Try to recognize it. Try to be with it. Actually, we don't have to do anything special to do it. Rather, we can stop all the other things, going towards the past, going towards the future, all those activities. When we are knowingly stop, knowingly discard, then what we have is the present moment. So this present moment is so simple, so obvious, so direct, and we are trying to be awake with that present moment. How are we feeling right now? And our head straight, neck straight, shoulders are also in a very restful position. Hands are also in a restful position, maybe on your lap, maybe on a table. And maybe we are leaning onto a chair, or we may be able to keep our body erect. And probably some weight, some pressure can be felt at buttocks or on the cushion. Our legs are bent. And probably our foot touching the ground in a gentle way. Not too much heaviness, weight, but we can feel the foot touching the ground or foot touching the carpet. Try to come back to yourself. There is nothing big to achieve. There is no rush, no hurry. Probably we were in a rush, but now there is no rush at all. We allow things to happen as the way it is. We can be with it. There are no any preferences. We have a quite open mind. We can embrace anything. We can acknowledge anything. Probably you can hear various things. You can feel maybe some tiny sensations, tingling sensations, itching sensations, maybe minor painful feelings, even various pleasurable feelings, kind of feeling at ease, kind of a comfort, even various thoughts coming and going. We simply can be aware. We don't need to be responsible for them. We can have our own seclusion, have our own island, the island of mindfulness. And while being in that island, we can see how the ocean is flowing, how the river is flowing, without getting wet of any of these. Once we are able to establish mindfulness, we can refine it. Suppose you are observing the breath. How this breath happens? How does it start? What's the difference between in-breath and out-breath? Have a little inquiry, a little curiosity, to search, to know, to investigate what's really going on. But with a very relaxed mind. There is no rush. There is no any resistance or resentment. Rather with an equanimous mind, all-embracing mind, inquiring what is going on. When we know it, if it fades away, then we can choose another thing. Again, we can examine. So this silent observation leads us to the development of wisdom. A lot of wisdom being developed, accumulated through this simple observation, equanimous observation, unparticipated observation. When we are able to inquire about breath, we can find out very minor details, minute details, how in-breath differ from out-breath. Is the in-breath long? Is the out-breath short? Is the in-breath warm or out-breath warm? From which nostril in-breath happens? From which nostril out-breath happens? Everything we are observing, inquiring, carefully attending. More our mindfulness is refined, we can reveal very minute details, very subtle details. Then and there we are mindful. Each breath we are mindful. Various facets of each breath. we can be aware. If you are able to recognize this breath is nothing but various sensations coming and going, some touching sensation, itching sensation, rubbing sensation, maybe cold, warm. So then the breath disappears and various sensation, element characteristics come forward. We can simplify our practice. Now there is no I, no place, no nose, no tongue, no mouth, no eye, simply various minute sensations, all coming and going, all appearing and disappearing. And we are very carefully observing. How they arise, how they pass away.
All right. So if anybody wishes to discuss their experience from the sitting just now, you wish to share your experiences with us, you're welcome to raise your hand and speak. How do you find the sessions, the mindful sitting sessions? Today is the fourth session inside our training period. And it could be that you have been practicing daily in the week. So how do you find? Is there any progress, or do you have any concerns? Feel free to raise your hand and join in discussions at any point to share your thoughts. I'll continue. So we are moving ahead on the first of our learning videos, which is on mindful walking. This is the second part of a Karo video. So before we talk about the contents from this video, what concerns have you had or faced while you have been trying to practice mindful walking, or have been practicing mindful walking for the past few weeks? What concerns did you face? Yes, Nalini, did you have something to say? Okay, so I'm listing here some concerns that are common to many of us. So one would be probably the time. So we have been discussing about strategies and how to include our practice into our daily routine as much as possible, so that we will put an effort in our practice. And then if you are still getting distracted, don't treat it as a distraction, right? Use it again. So if you are aware of a distraction, you are keeping your mindfulness. You have not lost your mindfulness, because you see what is happening. You're observing. You're aware of the fact that you are being distracted, but it should be when it is happening right at that point. Usually we become aware of the distraction much later. So if you can kind of start seeing how your mind wanders, then you are maintaining your mindfulness. So don't worry too much about it, but with more practice, you will be able to sustain your mind on a single focus. So one part of this video is a recounting of a young girl who had been practicing a mindfulness. So what she had said is that when she's practicing, or the sensations that she is observing, the sensations that she's feeling at the soles of her feet when she's walking. And it's quite interesting how young students, young children become really good and are really progressive in this practice, especially in mindful walking. And there is one young boy who had been very aware of the soles of his feet. He can even he's even aware of the parts of the foot that is not in contact with the surface when he's walking. So usually when we touch our feet on the surface, right, wherever the feet is in contact with the surface, that's where we will sense. And that's our, that is much more pronounced. Those sensations are more pronounced. So we will immediately, our attention would be to those places, those areas on our soles. But once you become really mindful, you will become aware of the areas that are not in contact with the surface as well. So these are quite interesting observations as you see more and more detail. And what other discoveries did you make while you were practicing mindful walking? So you may by now, if you have practiced this for some time, more than a few sessions, you will have noticed that you seem to be walking almost like a puppet, right? It's an effortless cyclic motion, and you will start observing this cyclic motion where the hub is at your hip joint, the pivot is at the hip joint, and your entire leg is like the radius of a wheel. If you think of a wheel, maybe a bicycle wheel, you have those spokes that come from the hub connected to the rim of the wheel, right? So the leg, the entire leg acts as the radius, and you will start noticing that your foot is along the perimeter of the wheel, the boundary of the wheel, or we call it the circumference of the wheel. And you are walking in this cyclic motion, which is as if you're walking inside a cartwheel. You may have seen this, people walking inside wheels. So in terms of physics, the line of action of your body weight goes along your leg, from your hip joint all the way to your leg, and you will notice where you feel the entire weight of your body at some point on your sole. And then when you walk forward, you will notice that this is again the weight of your body seems to be spreading from wherever you first touch your heel to the surface, and then it spreads along the foot forward until you take your toe off, when you do the toe off or remove your toes off the floor. So have you observed these changes? Have you observed the cyclic motion? Have you observed how your weight seems to spread or actually act along your leg and then spread forward along your foot as you move from one foot to the other? So these are some more observations, or I would say discoveries, that you will start making when you continue to walk mindfully. So earlier we talked about how we may have discovered that our one of our feet seems to be more dominant than the other foot. We are easily aware of this with our hands. We know which is our dominant hand and which is not so dominant. But we don't necessarily notice that our legs, our feet act in the same way, that there is one foot that is more dominant than the other. And when you're walking mindfully, you will start observing this. So why do we say ekaro? Ekaro is another Pali word, and ekaro means one radius. Araya means radius, so one radius. So what does that mean? One radius, we are focusing on keeping our focus. We call it a one-pointedness focus. So when we are walking mindfully, we are trying to keep our focus at the soles of our feet and nowhere else, not breathing, not at our nostrils, not if our arms are swinging to and fro, but always at the soles of our feet. And that is one point. So ekaro is another word for sati or mindfulness, because we we want to keep our focus on a single point. So that's the gist of this video. And any questions so far? Does anybody have any questions or want to share their thoughts? No, so we will move on. So here is a quick video. I'll play this and you will notice this cartwheel motion. I'll unmute this. So this is why when we practice mindful walking, at some point, you will start feeling as if your body is on autopilot and you are walking, you're maintaining your mindfulness, but it seems as if you, your whole body, you are a puppet master and your body is like a puppet and it just walks. Okay. Right, so let's move on. So our advice on mindful walking is continue to practice. The more you practice, you will start noticing the things we discussed today in this session, and you will have started noticing what we have been discussing in the past few sessions as well on mindful walking. The more you practice, the more discoveries you will make. So do practice daily and then make your reflections, jot them down on paper so that you can yourself see how you're progressing with your observations. So, so rather than just listening to what I'm saying and then probably you will understand, so we call that is intellectually you will understand what I'm saying, but once you're practicing, you will really experience this cartwheel motion. But don't try to visualize it when you're walking mindfully. Don't try to visualize or imagine the cartwheel motion. As you walk mindfully, you will start to notice it by yourself. Okay, right. So that is your advice for mindful walking. Okay, right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to on Zoom chat, I've shared 2 chapter links. There's the chapter 6 and chapter 7. So you can click on these 2 links and you can open the links on your computer browser, and you might want to save them or bookmark them because chapter 6 we are not going to read right now. But on chapter 7, what I would like you to do is read section 7.0 on page 1, just the first page only. So read the first page. I'll give you maybe 3 minutes, read it, and then reflect on the questions that appear on the screen. There are 4 questions that appear on the screen. You read the first page of chapter 7, and then reflect on the 4 questions, and you have 3 minutes from now. And the rest you can read at your convenience. who would like to share their thoughts on the reflections? What do you think? You can raise your hand, and then we will each have, let's have some input. I invite everybody to take part in the discussion. So what do you think resilience is? So how would you be resilient during any issues that you face at work, maybe in school or your workplace? And how do you think mindfulness could help you develop or strengthen your resilience? If you think so, how? Maybe you hadn't thought about it before. Any thoughts? Yes, Nalu, go ahead.
So sometimes at workplace, our thoughts doesn't match. Say if there is a meeting going on, and then if someone talks on something and you disagree, sometimes you don't agree with the thought they have that they put in, but then you for 2 minutes you become mindful for yourself and think on the expression that they have the thought that they have expressed, and then you try to uh, not agree, but at that point you try to concentrate on what they have said, and then thought over it, and then maybe like later at that in the meeting place, then you agree with what they said, but then later by being mindfulness you think over it, you agree with the situation at that time. For me,
Okay, so in
so
your
yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughts over there, Nalu. Sometimes we do face situations where we work very hard, but then nobody really acknowledge what we would acknowledge what we have done, and then you might feel a bit hurt or sad or disappointed or upset, or somebody might be really angry and yell at you. How do you cope? When things don't go in the right way, what happens? Or when things go horrendously wrong, what do you do? So how do we face situations like that? For most of us as teachers, it's probably the feeling that we work so hard, but there is no appreciation, and we get demotivated and dispirited about it. Or there would be some things that our students, we work really hard for our students, but they don't seem to appreciate it, or they say something that is hurtful. And then we take it really personally as teachers. So how do we overcome that? How do we maintain our professionalism and carry on without being pushed here and there and become, because the end result would be that we have a lot of stress, or we are very anxious, we get nervous. Like Nalu said earlier, observing what is happening, right? Giving the other person to say what they want, but still trying to keep your balance, to maintain your calm, right? That ability you build up with resilience. So do read the full chapter on it. It's a good chapter there. We will come back to speak about resilience. So think about our feelings and emotions, because earlier when we spoke about it's our feelings and emotions and how we maintain our spirit and keep on working despite negative settings, or where we we feel that we are not appreciated enough, or we have done something and we feel that it is a mistake, and then we don't know how to face others, things like that. So there are lots of feelings and emotions involved. So what are feelings and emotions? Examples? What do you identify as feelings and emotions? So our happiness, our grief or sadness, disappointment, maybe disgust. Yes, Samanthi.
Yes, I'd like to add something.
Yes.
Yes, then feelings are the changes of our mind, what we gain through different situations. Maybe according to the experience that we gain, the feelings and emotions might be changed, isn't it? Then, as you said, the happiness or the sadness, maybe jealousy, maybe tiredness, then kind of such feelings will be changed with the situations that we face it.
Yes. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you so much, Samanthi. Yes. So, we are driven by our feelings and emotions to a certain extent. Some people are very emotional and some people are not so emotional. But do we always maintain that balance? Ideally, it would be good if we can maintain a certain balance, but there's nothing wrong with feelings and emotions. It's how we make decisions based on our feelings and emotions that we might have to be careful about. So in order to understand feelings and emotions, we need to be aware of feelings and emotions. So if you're feeling angry, when is the first moment you become aware that you are angry? If you are feeling sad, when is the moment that you become aware that you're feeling sad? Now, for example, if we feel some physical discomfort, we become aware of that quite easily, maybe a headache or a back pain. But some of our feelings and emotions, we go through them, but we don't really become aware of whether we are feeling happy at that moment in time, or whether we are feeling a bit envious, like Samantha was saying, or maybe disappointed, right? We go through these emotions and feelings, but are we always aware of them, right? We do become aware of them when we have taken some action based on them. So it is important that we know how to deal with our feelings and emotions in order for us to function and maintain good relationships and be somebody who contributes positively to the society in general. And then as teachers and people training other young people or other adults, it's important for us to understand feelings and emotions, especially knowing when we are tired, knowing if somebody else is tired or not feeling happy, right? We go through all these mood changes based on our likes and dislikes. So if we like something, then our feelings and emotions we identify as positive. If things go the way we want them to, then we have good feelings and emotions. But if things do not always go according to the way we want, then our feelings and emotions may become negative. So think for a moment. So if we can become aware of our own feelings and emotions, right? We know we are happy when we are feeling happy. We know we are bored when we feel bored. So once we are able to be aware of our feelings and emotions, then it becomes a bit easier for us to understand how other people feel and what their emotions are in certain situations. Think about it for a moment. Now, this is very closely related to a value called empathy. So for young people, they're very empathetic, but you may have come across people who are not very empathetic. Some people are sympathetic, but might not be empathetic all the time. So, but we do want to develop the quality of empathy, then we need to understand how others feel and what emotions they go through. Yes, we said putting ourselves in somebody else's shoes. That's the idiom. Yeah. So we might not necessarily always know our feelings and emotions, and then we will not understand another person's feelings and emotions. But if we start becoming aware and becoming mindful of our own feelings and emotions, then we will be able to become more empathetic. So reflect on this. So if we become kinder, if we become empathetic, right? And if we become respectful towards our students in class and maybe our colleagues, our peers in the staff room, we will have very good relationships, positive relationships. And most of the problems or issues or even conflict crop up because somebody had been unkind, somebody has not understood how the other person has been struggling, right? We don't care what our students are going through. We don't understand that. Then there will be issues in the teaching and learning process, the whole of it. So right now, think about it, right? Have we had moments where we have not been kind or empathetic or respectful? As teachers, sometimes we always want to have the last word sometimes. Not everybody, but usually. And then because of that, it could be that we do hurt somebody, a young person. Any thoughts on this? Do you agree that we could become kinder, empathetic, and respectful towards students and peers? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, yeah. Yes, we for sure, because if you think of them, if you be kind and empathetic to them, you might get the same treatment. Although not everyone would be same, but
Yes.
at least out of 10, maybe 5 people would be kind to you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't want to be hurt from someone, then you do the same way with others. If you try to protect yourself or take care of yourself, then you find the same in others as well.
Yeah, you're
So it does
absolutely
help.
right. Yeah, yes, it does. Because we say when other people see a person doing an act of kindness, it kind of causes a ripple effect, right? So everybody would at least start being kinder. Right, so let's think for a moment where most of the time, right, we go through a range of feelings and emotions from in the morning when we wake up until the moment we go to sleep. But games, sports, right, these days in our country, everybody's glued to their television sets watching the international cricket. So any kind of game, right? The players, if there are teams, right? There's a winning side, there's a losing side, right? Lots of feelings and emotions involved. So when we want to observe feelings and emotions, one good strategy is to become mindful when we are playing. And because we can test all those range of feelings and emotions. In our normal life, it can be a little bit difficult unless we carefully observe ourselves. So you may have read on mindful games in the past weeks. Yes, that's a good strategy. Thank you, Nandu, for sharing that. So when we normally play sports or any other game, whether it's a board game or some other game, right? There is an element of competitiveness involved, right? The participants, the players must concentrate. So there is a degree of concentration there, but that is not the concentration that we develop through mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness, we try to develop the correct concentration, but for anything, right, we do need some degree of concentration to do any task properly and accurately, right? Even if you are a burglar and somebody is a burglar and they need to pick a lock, they need some concentration there to do it. But that is not the right concentration. They're doing something harmful or hurtful. So there is a degree of concentration in sports, in games. There is a huge competitiveness, right? And then, of course, winning and losing, which give rise to emotions. The winning side will be thrilled, joyous, and the losing side will be very demotivated and dispirited, disappointed, and so on. So so this is a good opportunity for us to introduce our students to become mindful when they play games. So how do we practice mindfulness while playing games? So in Sati Pasala, we can use any activity, any leisure time activity, right? Whether it's basketball or football or any other sport or swimming or a board game or any chess or any other activity that you would normally do. We practice it with mindfulness. But there is one important fact. We play games mindfully for the enjoyment, not with the intention of hurting others or making others feel below us or putting down another person. So when we practice games, or when you start playing a sport, or if you are a coach or maybe a teacher in charge of a certain sport and you're taking your team out to play against another team in a different school, right? The focus is, let's have fun, let's enjoy, let's be mindful of every action that we will perform on the field. So the idea is, if we win, it is great, but even if we lose, we had the chance to play. So we go with that approach, that attitude. And that is how we practice mindfulness in games. So there is, we have to, it's not kind of being forceful about winning. And then it says, slowly, mindfully, silently. Obviously, while you're playing a sport, you will be moving really fast. You will be deciding, because if you're playing with the ball, right, you need to be really fast on how all of that. But once you practice mindfulness, right, first initially you will slow down your mind and then become mindful, and then you practice it while observing yourself. So once you slow down, you will get the clarity in mind to make those quick decisions in order to keep playing on the field. So, and the most important part is while that spectrum of emotions, maybe the joy in playing or the joy in winning or even becoming upset when you lost, right? The ability to recognize, okay, now I'm upset because I've lost the game. Ability to recognize, and then you accept it, all right, I'm sad. That's it. Right? You don't do anything, you just recognize and accept the feeling that you're upset, you're sad. And then once we do that, you will start building resilience. So the benefits of practicing mindful games is that you will start recognizing your feelings and emotions. And then once you accept the feelings and emotions, you will also start to understand other feelings and emotions of how they come and how they arise. And then you will understand this about your friends or the other people who are playing with you. So when we introduce mindful games to students, sometimes just one child, one young person who is mindful and who practices this will encourage the rest of the team. So, and you will see these good qualities developing in the team or in the kids or the people playing or the young people playing mindful games. And like earlier Nalu was saying, others will also start responding in a very positive manner. You will respond positively towards others, and it will be reciprocated, right? Because the others will also in turn respond positively towards yourself as well. So we are going to discuss some keywords right now because these are connected with mindfulness, especially in terms of mental well-being. So we read and spoke a little bit about resilience earlier. So we will speak about emotional resilience because we are on the topic of feelings and emotions. And then there is a whole area on emotional literacy. So we want to become literate or understand our emotions. And then maybe you may have heard in the past, we always measure our academic excellence with IQ, or we call it intelligence quotient. Now, the hot theme is emotional intelligence. And we measure emotional intelligence with EQ, or emotional quotient. So the IQ was usually used to measure the academic achievements, right? So didn't do much to measure the person on how whether the person is happy or is leading a successful life as in society in terms of relationships with others. But emotional quotient or emotional intelligence will help us measure the emotional, whether how a person will relate to others, how they work well with others, and so on. So which is a much more useful measure to make sure that students can eventually lead happy and successful lives. Not just successful lives, because when people, the way people measure success can be different from each other. And the success might not necessarily lead to happy lives. So, but EQ will measure the emotional intelligence that if you develop, can help you make progress and lead a happy life eventually. Mouse just froze. So let's take one term at a time. So emotional resilience. So resilience was kind of, would you fall down and your ability to bounce back, right? So that is resilience. Something bad happens, you fall down, you get off track, but you bounce back and you carry on. So emotional resilience is the ability that you will have to be flexible and adapt to situations that can be really stressful or challenging, right? So we say life's ups and downs and you cope with them, right? So that is emotional resilience. So mostly it's somebody that has been very loving and will be very close to us. We lose them. Maybe they moved away or maybe they passed away, something. And then how do we face that? How do we cope up with that? So that is emotional resilience. If we can face it successfully without kind of halting our life or putting our life on hold. And in positive psychology, let me just, yes, so self-acceptance is part of, yes, emotional resilience will mean you build self-acceptance, but also will be able to develop yourself, knowing this is who you are right now, and then move on from there, rather than getting demotivated and then which might lead to some very negative consequences. So in positive psychology, the emotional resilience is something that can be developed. So if you don't have any emotional resilience right now, over time you can develop it. And how do you develop it? In positive psychology, they mention 3 strategies. One is, of course, your self-care, right? Leading physically and mentally healthy lifestyle, right? You take care of your body and self-care. The other one is to stay away from substance abuse, right? So not so that you will have clarity of mind, so you're not kind of controlled by substances. And the third one is practicing mindfulness. So practicing mindfulness, right? Not being subjected to substance abuse, but taking care of your body. You will, so when I say taking care of your body, that is healthy eating, healthy exercise, healthy lifestyle. So, and mindfulness. So these are the ways in which you can build your emotional resilience, and how we can train young people to build their emotional resilience. What happened there? Okay. Then the other term was emotional literacy. So emotional literacy is your ability to recognize the emotions, right? Knowing sadness, grief, or disappointment, jealousy, knowing, recognizing those emotions, and then being able to name them. So I am angry, but if you really look at it, right, you will realize, okay, I'm disappointed. Right? So you would be able to name your emotions, your feelings and emotions. And once you do that, then you will be able to understand the feelings and emotions. Feelings and emotions are very much tied in with our survival. So when you, if you're happy, that happiness should tell you something, right? Tells you that people around you appreciate you, you are in a safe and secure environment. If you are frightened, if there is fear, then it is telling you that maybe your surroundings is not so safe, and what do you do about it? So understanding, how did this feeling come up? Why did this feeling come up, right? And then how do we express these feelings and emotions? Right? So some people, when they get really angry, they throw a tantrum. Maybe they might even damage physical property or hurt another person or another living being. So how do you express? How do you act on your feelings and emotions towards yourself or others? right? So that has to be in a very healthy and socially acceptable manner, which means you don't hurt yourself or others. So emotional literacy is all of this. So an emotional literate person should be able to do these things. Now, if you look at the visuals here, right? So you should be able to recognize and name the emotions. So if you can recognize and name the emotions, then obviously you will be able to see them in other people. Then understanding the cause and the effect of the emotion. So you realize, okay, this is why I'm feeling happy right now, right? And what is, so if, for example, sometimes you can be so overjoyed, and that can also be, that can also lead to some negative consequence where you are kind of making the other people around you feel beneath you. So, so once you really understand that, you will be able to, and the effect of your emotion, then you will be able to express your emotion appropriately, so that you don't make other people upset just because you are feeling a certain emotion, right? We most of the time, we naturally, when we get upset, we behave in a way that others around us are also upset. And then once you can express your emotion appropriately, then you will be able to empathize with others. So these are the things that an emotionally or we say emotional literate person will have the skills for. And then the third term is emotional intelligence. Here you identify and manage emotions of yourself and also that of others. So that's so emotional intelligence is something that you will have to develop. It's an intelligence, so you can develop it. So initially you may not be able to manage your emotions, let alone anybody else's emotions, but you start with identifying and then slowly learning how to manage your emotions, and then helping people around you to manage their emotions as well. So how do you build your or develop your emotional intelligence? So we can identify a few levels. So sometimes if you read up on emotional intelligence, there would be 4 or 5 categories. I'm showing 4 categories here. So at level 1, your basic intelligence level, you will be able to perceive emotions, right? You will become aware of your emotions. And then as you develop your EQ or emotional intelligence, then you will be able to reason with your emotions. Okay, okay, this is why this happened, or at this stage, you are able to accept to a certain extent as well. And then at level 3, you will start understanding the emotions. So you don't become, so here you're building your emotional resilience now. So you understand your emotions. Here you more or less now can accept your emotions, feelings and emotions. And there is this degree of understanding. So you don't take, your behavior will not be kind of extreme. And at the highest level of emotional intelligence, then you will be able to manage your emotions really well. So how do you develop your emotional intelligence from level 1 to level 4? You practice mindfulness, and you will realize you are becoming more and more aware of your emotions. And the thing is, with practicing mindfulness, one of the first things that you will, once you start observing yourself, is that you will understand yourself. You will not be able to lie to yourself. So sometimes what happens is that when we most of our feelings and emotions, we kind of deny we don't want to accept certain feelings and emotions. So we lie to ourselves. No, we didn't feel it that way. Or no, we were not scared. Or yeah, we were not jealous about it. We lie to ourselves. But once we really start becoming mindful and be mindful of our feelings and emotions, we will never be able to lie to ourselves. We become very honest with our feelings and emotions. And then you will be able to perceive them more, reason with them more, understand and manage them much better. So the last part, EQ or emotional quotient, is actually the way to measure your level of emotional intelligence. So you can do that with a scale or a test, but the scale will depend on the test that you are using. It could be a self-report or some other person's report or the ability measures. So just to give you an understanding of somebody who has very low EQ, right? You may notice that they're very aggressive, demanding, very egoistical, can be bossy, confrontational, so on. But as they develop their EQ or EI, emotional intelligence, with mindfulness practice, you will start seeing them moving to the other end of the spectrum, where they're not aggressive, they're assertive. They're not demanding, but they are ambitious. Right? They're driven, they're strong-willed, and they're decisive. So you see all these negative traits kind of shifting, changing into the positive traits at the higher end of the emotional intelligence spectrum. So, and you will start seeing these changes in your students, or if you're practicing properly, you'll start seeing these changes in yourself first. And you can see, right? So when we practice mindfulness, we don't try to become a perfectionist. We aim to do our best, always do our best. So the end result would not necessarily be perfect, but we know that we have done our best. So that is the best way to reduce stress and anxiety in our students and in ourselves as teachers. And we also obviously develop our work ethics. Because if you try to be a perfectionist, then it is somehow or other you try to do it. But as mindfulness practitioners, we don't want to do something somehow or the other. We want to do it in the right manner. Any questions so far? Okay. So, oops, excuse me for that. Okay. So the other connection that we have on these terms on emotional resilience, emotional literacy, and so on, is that the strategies, the approaches we take to practice mindfulness and also develop emotional literacy, they are the same activities. So I think I may have shown you what the mind jar is. You can make a mind jar by yourself. All you need is 2 parts of clear glue with 8 parts of water. Put as much as glitter dust into it, and then shake the bottle, and you have a mind jar. And you can just shake the bottle and observe how the glitter dust settles, just like an agitated mind calms itself down. And you may have noticed for very young children, we get them to understand facial expressions, right? We say, okay, smile, and they smile, and we say, make an angry face, and they make an angry face, and we say, make a sad face, and they make a sad face, right? And they say, make a happy face, they make happy faces, and we show them pictures of how somebody looks like when they're happy. So we start teaching them to recognize and name feelings and emotions from a young age, right? And then, of course, mindfulness practice, art and craft, especially working with hand, right? And journaling, writing their thoughts, their reflections down. And then you may have noticed all these tangible toys, right? The stress balls, or maybe the fidget spinners, or any kind of stress reducing toys that they can touch. So they move their focus to the touching sensations to help themselves calm down. So all of these to do with managing emotions, and we use these same techniques and approaches and practices to teach mindfulness in mindfulness activities and games as well. Any questions so far or thoughts? Okay. So think about this question in terms of your own practice. And if you have been practicing with your students, you can relate it to them as well. No worries, Amita. Yes, Samanthi.
Yes, but I need to add, then the resilience won't come as we think, like it will come when we need. Of course, it comes with the practice. Then if you have been mindful before, to your thoughts, to understand how they are changing by the time, and also how do you feel it, and how are you struggling with them, or when you feel happiness, how do you feel that, or what kind of body changes happens. Like if you are always being mindful to that, then it's very easy to improve the resilience. If not, then suddenly what unexpected things happen, we are not able to get into that in a way that we can be able to manage with. Then
Yeah.
that's what I needed to.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Samanthi. And the thing is, now let's say in the morning you practice mindful sitting, and then you're done with it, and then you start working, and then you get frustrated and irritated, and you get angry, and then you keep on practicing, but you're not able to use that mindfulness practice in able to develop your emotions or manage your emotions. So the best time is to become aware of those. If you're angry, then to practice mindfulness on and become aware of your anger. You can't practice it when you're calm and not angry. You have to be mindful at the time when you get angry. So trying to so play it as a game. So from time to time, I'm going to just for like 5 seconds, I'm just going to see what my emotion is right now. Am I calm, or am I agitated, or am I getting? So from different times of the day, you just do a check on yourself, and you will develop your emotional understanding. And that is because our feelings and emotions change throughout the day. Yes, Sati, were you saying something? I thought you had your hand raised.
Yes, I just wanted to add on to what she said. Sometimes when emotions are out of control, so it's very common that when you're working, when you are dealing with people, there is so much some people come with different emotions in front of you, and it just skips that you have to be mindful at that point of time. So generally there is a I have seen that this can be utilized. I'm not sure if that can be applied, or it's good, or it's something that generally can be done. But I just look at some point and we start from there. And so the first thing, whatever comes into the vision, there can be 5 things that you see, and then you start feeling like, what you feel about those 5 things. At least identify feelings, 4 feelings, and then 3 things at the simultaneous position, what you hear, and at the same time moving on to the smell, two things, and then finally there is a taste as well at that same point of time.
Yes.
So when you go through that stage, like from seeing to feeling to hearing to smelling to taste, by the time you're already grounded, and then
Yes.
probably you can start
Yes.
from
Yeah.
the mindfulness again.
Yes, that is one strategy we use with students, especially kind of, and then we can also kind of come to our feeling at that point. Like you said, you start with seeing, because you can see lots of things, and then you hear, and then you smell, and then you taste, and then you work on, okay, what are you feeling right now? And you can bring your attention to your feelings and emotions as well. The other thing is, first of all, we can try to kind of sit and think, okay, what kind of things will trigger my anger in class? Where do I get upset? And you can just think about it. Okay, so and so, this student is always making me angry because they don't behave in this way. Now you know. So you, in your mind, you keep a note and say, okay, I will try to observe all my interactions with this student. And you start, and you will, and then you will, because you are aware that it could be, there is chance that you might get upset. You start observing yourself when you are working with that student, and then what two things can happen. You will be able to identify how your anger arises, what is the student doing, what are you doing at that point. And the other thing is, as you're observing, you will realize that your anger doesn't really kind of escalate as usual, because now you're seeing things much more clearly. So it is, yes. So in order for us to understand the state that we are in emotionally in the present moment, right? A starting point is to kind of pick a few that frequent emotions that we go through at work, and then kind of observe those points. Because we would know, okay, with whom do I get angry, right? And then you will start realizing it's not just because of that person's action, it's just because what I perceive or what I think should happen. And you start seeing all these insights into what's actually happening at that moment. So techniques to start practicing mindfulness, about your being mindful about your feelings and emotions, right? One place is to kind of practice, one strategy is to practice at different times of the day. And then another strategy is to identify some feelings and emotions that are triggered by certain situations. And then when you, if those are frequent situations, then you can kind of, you would know they are going to happen, and you will remember to apply bear attention to those situations. Right, let's move on. Thank you so much for your contributions there. So then think about, we were talking about earlier about mindful games and how we practice mindful games at Sati Pasala when we train. Oopsie, sorry. I didn't realize my screen was so it goes here, right? Then okay. Right. So let's think about what kind of mindfulness practices could we introduce to young people, or we can engage in ourselves, things that we are doing currently, or maybe something new. In school, probably you play chess with them, Scrabble or other board games. I love this tower building exercise with Jenga blocks, where they have to be really focused to when pulling out the block without letting the tower fall. And then there is the Chinese Go game. If anybody is familiar with that. So there are some games that we can introduce to young people, or we can play. But the idea is that we will apply SMS, slowly, mindful, and silently, when we are practicing, but still at that moment in time only. So we can still talk and enjoy and share our thoughts and share our joy while we are playing. But the moment we start observing, for that moment in time, we become aware of what we are doing. Then we become aware of our feelings and emotions. Then we become aware of what we are saying and how we are sharing it with others. So maintaining that awareness, sustaining that awareness, we can use any activity, any game that we already do, or we can introduce some new games, because sometimes introducing a new game, their attention will be very focused because it's a new game, and they can start being mindful about it as well. Any other games that you are doing with your students that you think now I can introduce mindfulness practice while playing these games?
Could I share something?
Yes, go ahead, Samanthi.
Yes, I do something to create the rain sound just by using the fingers, by clapping with fingers. Then we make sound, then starting with that, then it goes to clap, and then they will start to clap, and it will be on the desk later, or their laps later, like that, improving the sound and listening to that, how that comes increasingly.
Yes. Yeah.
They love it.
They love it. Yeah, especially young children, they love it. And then how horses make sound when they run through water, the splash sound, and you do that with your body, right? Tapping on various parts of your body. And it's so there are so many activities that you may already know and that you do with your students, and you can just use it to practice mindfulness as well. Right. So we are not doing the mindful sitting here. So excuse me. So just a reminder on the journaling, and I want to apologize once again. So this week had been really hectic for me, so I have not sent out any emails. And if anybody has been waiting for the session materials on the video recordings or PowerPoints, we will send them before the end of the week next week, including for the whole module 2.1 and today's 2.2 session. So don't worry about that. And the reading materials will also be included in the email. But since I was going to share them on chat anyway, so I didn't really worry about it. So thank you for letting me know, and especially speaking about the email. So now I know that you do read it. So that is good feedback for me. So I'll try my best to make sure they are sent on time. Keep writing, do keep writing your reflections. And this is your daily reading for a reminder for the coming week. So from the Sati Pasala instructional essays ebook. Does anybody have anything to say about these essays? If you had started reading them, or if you had read them, there are really good as openings for discussion with your class, if you want to read them aloud in class. Yeah, Amita was just sharing how we can use certain sensations on our body when we are practicing mindfulness, whether it is sitting or walking or any other activity. So one strategy is to bring our attention to the sound that is made in the present moment. Now today we have discussed about feelings and emotions. So try over in the next week, try to see if you can identify certain emotions and when and how they arise, what triggers them, what are the how do you act on them, right? And what happens when you start observing them silently, and how do you manage those emotions. Yes, so yes, it is getting colder, isn't it, over there? And you can try, right? Even the changes in the weather, as long as you don't kind of expose yourself in that will harm yourself, but you can still become aware of so any experience, any sensation, any feeling, any emotion, any physical activity, right? We can make use of it as a tool to practice mindfulness. So we do have some time today because I didn't start the other sitting session. Okay, thank you. This is Nalini, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So this is a good time for us to have a quick chat, everybody, to see if there is anything that I might help you with, or you need some clarification, or you want to say something to me. This is a good time. We have like 13 minutes before I wrap up. How is your practice, personal practice, if I may ask? Shashikala? How is your practice in mindful sitting and walking? Are you experiencing the sensations that we have spoken about in our sessions? Oh, okay. Right, great. So for tangibles, they love hands-on activities. So give them something that earlier I was showing some strategies that we use in developing emotional literacy. I'll go back to that slide. So giving them, so if somebody feels really agitated or angry or close to a tantrum, a temper tantrum, you can give them something to kind of, maybe some Play-Doh, or maybe something something that they can focus their attention on, that they can squeeze, or if they're really angry, you give them something that they can squeeze, right, with your hands. And after some time, so for young people, it might be a bit difficult. Some young people, if you get them to do breathing exercises, they can calm down, but others, maybe even you can give them some drumsticks and ask them to kind of play drums, right? And you will see them calming down. So something really physical, any activity that we practice with to develop emotional literacy will be good for an autistic child. Yes, all you can do is keep trying. And this is not, things are not going to change overnight. So we continue to practice, we continue to make as much effort as possible, and we'll see results. And then now that you have noticed how you're being disturbed, that is a start, right? And then start watching yourself, observe yourself. Okay, so, and observe that sense of being disturbed, right? And then focus on what you're going through, and then you will slowly start seeing changes. And then you will start noticing that you really don't need to be swayed by another person's emotions, and you're building emotional resilience over time. So it is not something that will happen overnight, but we do a lot of things, including a healthy lifestyle and so on as well, to balance our physical well-being along with our mental well-being. Because one thing is that if you're overly tired, then you're prone to being more emotional, and it might be difficult to practice mindfulness at that point. So but if you can kind of silently observe that fatigue, that tiredness, and then you can still practice. So there is no one right way to practice mindfulness. Now we see there are many different ways in which we can apply bare attention. So thank you for sharing your thoughts and asking those questions. Amita, are you okay with my answers, or do you have you tried them, or do you want? Okay, right. Shashikala? Are you fine with what I answered? Right, we keep on trying. Yes, yes, it will take time. You're absolutely right. But the tortoise won, the hare didn't. So we take our time, slowly, mindfully, and silently, as the motto of Sati Pasala. And we will get there, and you will start. So now this is, since we just completed 50% of our training, move on to observing feelings and emotions. It is fine. And even when you're sitting, right, if you suddenly become aware of a stray thought, right, now you have a certain degree of practice of a calm and alert mind. You can even follow that train of thought to observe what's happening, not daydream or visualize or imagine anything or think about something that is in the past, but just observing that thought if you can. But for beginners, we will not observe feelings and emotions until we are kind of practiced with our mindful sitting and walking, observing sensations. So if you feel that you are still unable to sustain your attention on sensations as you feel on your physical body, then you might want to kind of focus and build your concentration, sharpen, get that one-pointedness before you move on to observe feelings and emotions. But if you are already kind of becoming aware of feelings and emotions right now, then carry on. That is all right. So that's all. Yes, so do keep young children. You will not be able to keep them for longer durations, but maybe even 5 minutes or 2 minutes, or when you move from one activity to another, and just for 30 seconds, you can kind of get everybody to focus on their breath. 5 breath cycles, and then they continue carrying on with their learning activities. So for young children, it can be a challenge for them to kind of sit for long duration, but they do love it. They do ask for it. Once you introduce it to them and they practice it a little bit, they do say that we would like to practice more. So let them. So thank you so much for starting working with students already practicing mindfulness. So your personal practice matters a lot. And then the aim of these sessions is that eventually you will be practiced and confident to teach other adults. So more adults can, working with children and youth, can guide them in becoming mindful learners and mindful individuals. Samanthi, would you like to add something to today's session? I know you have been contributing or from time to time, but we have 4 minutes.
Yes, of course. Thank you for giving that opportunity. Then we should practice. That's the thing what I have to remind again. The practice will make you better as much as possible, whatever you feel, without judging anything. We'll let it be. It's okay, but you will see that, and you will observe your feelings and the changes of the others. Let it be. And maybe it's not to be patient. Try that. It's not the patience. Practicing patience is different than accepting. Here we are accepting the things as it is. Then try to depress the things. Is it?
Yeah. So we accept it. We recognize and we accept. So that acceptance will make huge strides forward for us in developing our resilience and then managing our work-life balance. And once you start accepting it, you will realize that you're not really suppressing your emotions. You're not bottling up your emotions, because the danger of bottling up your emotions is that one day the bottle will explode, right? But we had a young girl about in the A-level class who was talking about her experience in managing feelings and emotions through mindfulness practice, where she actually said, I see my feelings and emotions much more clearly, and I'm able to kind of overcome them. I'm not suppressing them. So they seem to be slowly, the negative feelings and emotions are going away. And I feel that I'm not bottling them up, but they're just kind of, I'm overcoming them, which is a really, really positive approach. Because through mindfulness practice, you are not suppressing, or you're kind of bottling up, or keeping them away, or hiding them, right? Or digging them into a hole and putting them there. We are just observing them, and we are accepting them, and we are letting them go. And that is the way we manage feelings and emotions. So yes, this is in answer to Amrita. Yes, probably you will have a meeting for the individual education plan for the student, and that is a good place where you can discuss some mindfulness practice techniques that you can use. And most of the time these yes, you can never force. We can't force another person to take up the practice. They have to be convinced by themselves, and then they will start practicing. We can show them the way, but we can't do it for them. And we can show them the way, but we will not force them to see it. So it is, but what will happen is, with your own practice, when you practice, the changes that will happen will be seen by others. So you're kind of modeling the practice, and then others will also come along. Now, we publicize this. We said there is so and so such a program, but you decided to participate. So unless somebody decides to take this up, then it's difficult to force them. And remember the 10 guiding principles. We will never coerce, we'll never force. But for young people, we give them the opportunity to practice, we get them to practice. And in the beginning, you will find that if you have 15 young people, right, maybe a few of them will practice in the way that you teach them. Some will be very fidgety, some can't close their eyes. And Samanthi had a really good solution last week for that. And but eventually they will come on track. And think of it this way: you introduce it to them now, and maybe 10-15 years later they will be still familiar with it, and once their mindset is right, they will take up the practice. So you can only show them the way. All right, so it is 1 minute past 8. Usually we go till 8:15, but some of these sessions we can wrap up earlier by 8. So if there are no other questions, we can wrap up today's session. Are you all right for us to do that? Or do you have any more questions? All right, yes. So for module 2, because we didn't share the video from last week's session, so by next week, Friday, we'll surely include all the materials for both sessions of the second module. You're welcome, and thank you all for your time and commitment and your own personal practice. So may you all be mindful, happy people. Right, and I will see you, Samanthi, and I will see you next week at 6. Thank you all. Have a good night. Samanthi, I'll end the meeting.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Have a great night.
Good night.
Mindful night. Bye.
Bye.